Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of SAP UI5. In the last class in SAP UI5, we discussed about scaffolding template and controller hook methods. We also discussed how to define the controller using scaffolding dependencies, and we saw what was the old syntax to define the controller in SAP UI5. Then in the next session, we had discussed about how to use an XML, what is exactly an XML, what is the purpose of using XML in SAP UI5. So this is what was our previous class. In today's class, we will go ahead and discuss about multiple variety of views. So as I told you, there are four types of views in SAP UI5 in the previous session. Majority of the projects which we are built by SAP are built on top of XML views. They're not on JavaScript views. So JavaScript views is only 20% penetration. 80% views which you see, almost 100% from SAP, what you see is all built on XML, and remaining 20% are probably the custom one which you see in your company. So our main focus will be on XML view. Of course, you will learn a lot of JavaScript coding during the course, which will help you to also work with JavaScript views. Okay, so I've already showed you some examples of JavaScript views by far in the previous classes. Now in next session, in today's class, we will see different variety of view types. So let's get started and see how can we work with multiple variety of view types, different views, and we will see then how can we drive these views, write these views and see the output. So first let's start with XML view. Okay, what is an XML view? So as I discussed in my previous session, what is XML? XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. XML is mainly, the purpose of XML is to build or to initially was developed to transfer the data between heterogeneous technologies. Later on, this has become more like an industry standard to also define the view. The main advantage of using XML view is its compatibility to be processed by all platforms and programming languages. So XML is something which is agreed upon consensus of all the platforms and programming languages. That's the main reason why people would prefer to go with XML. Another reason is in order to make sure that user never puts any processing logic inside view, we also use XML. Okay, so that's exactly the purpose of XML is. That's why we use XML. Clear everyone? What is the purpose of XML? So now in the system, we will go ahead and create our first XML view. So as you know, XML views or an XML is defined again with the custom tags. So you will always start with your tags in XML also. And what you will do is you will just put something called a view. And remember, the view is part of SAP UI5 core library. So you will start like this: core view, and then you have to specify something called XML namespace, XML NS. Now what is XML NS? NS stands for namespace, which means since you have used this core, what does this core means? Like in JavaScript view, we were putting the whole name of the library dot control name, like sap.ui.commons dot buttons we were putting, right? But here in this case, you will have to now tell what does this core means. So you have to say XML namespace colon core means sap.ui.core class. This is what I mean by SAP. The core namespace. Similarly, if you are using, let's say, UI common, so you can say XML namespace. You can put some name called Anubhav equals to sap.ui.commons. So whenever I'm putting namespace as Anubhav in my code, it means it goes and search for the control in this library. You can also put always one default namespace without any colon and name. This remains the default namespace, which means any control which you put inside the XML view will by default will be searching for this particular searching in this particular library. So usually these main libraries like commons or SAP M library, these are all the libraries which we use to put as a default namespace. Clear everyone? So let's go to the system and define our XML view. First XML view, are we not loading library in Bootstrap? Yes, libraries are loaded in the Bootstrap, but the beauty of XML is if you start using XML view and if you put the XML namespace with the library name, it gets loaded by the view itself. Okay, it gets loaded by the view itself, guys. That is one beauty, but usually you put it in the Bootstrap only, all the libraries which you use. But how do you specify in the view? So can you create a button in JavaScript view? Can you create button in JavaScript view without specifying UI.commons? Anyone? Can you, when you are creating button in JavaScript view, can you create the view without specifying sap.ui.commons.button? You cannot, right? So you have to specify the library name before the control name. For that purpose, we have the namespace in XML view. Not clear? If not clear, let me quickly show you the example of our previous view. So if I come to our previous view, okay, let me just refresh my web IDE quickly. It got to get restarted. So you'll see now in a minute inside my view, we will be able to find it. So let it load. Yeah, I come inside. Okay, Swami has understood now. Let's go and check. Let me close unwanted windows so that my system doesn't get slowed down. I close Eclipse. Okay, great. So now I'm here, and if you go to the view, you will see we have put library name before every control name. See? So without putting library name, you cannot simply create like this. This is not valid. You have to tell which library this control belongs to, correct? So same thing is being done with the help of XML namespace. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'll do is another interesting point here. One interview question to all of you. Can multiple views use same controller? Anybody? Can multiple views use same controller? Is this possible? So there is a view, or in fact there are multiple views, and can they all use same controller? The answer is yes. Answer is yes. Okay, it is possible, guys. Now, is vice versa possible? Can multiple controller be referred by a view? Is vice versa possible? The vice versa not possible. Why? Why, guys? Why vice versa is not possible? What do you think? What's the reason vice versa is not possible? Because the reason is very simple. If you come and check get controller name, it can only return one controller name. Okay, your get controller name method can only return one controller name, which is part of the view. It cannot return multiple controller names to the UI5 control. Okay, so it cannot refer to multiple controllers. One, and good practice is one view per controller. So answer is yes. Vice versa not possible, because a view can only return object of one controller at a time. Okay, this is one important point to note. A view can only return one controller at a time. Okay, that's why vice versa is not possible. So let's go to the system, and what I'll try now in this example, our current example itself, where I will now try to create the view here itself, and I will refer to the main controller only. So let me just right click on the view, new in web IDE, and now here you have to choose XML view, guys. So what you do is you choose SAP UI5 view and just give the view name. Type is XML, so you can see XML is selected as default, and I will say namespace. What is the namespace of my project? Let me check. Index HTML. Anubhav is the namespace of my project. Okay, so I right click, new, view, namespace is Anubhav, and I want to give my XML as the view name. Okay, watch carefully, it is case sensitive. Next, and then I say finish. A new view will be created along with the new controller. You see it has created a controller also, it has created a view also for that controller, for that view. Okay, so a pair got created. I don't want pair. I delete this controller which is created for the view. I also bring my view inside the view folder. So let me cut and paste the view inside my view folder. Okay, so I cut and paste. Oops, it's not bringing in. Let me just cut it, right click here and paste it. Yes, it comes now. And I delete this guy, and I also rename my view to my XML view. Clear everyone? What did I do? I created a new view now. It's an XML view. Let's have a quick look at this XML view now. Double click. You see MVC is the namespace. What is MVC referring to? Which library MVC is referring to? Anyone? Which library MVC is referring to? Anybody? No, it is referring to SAP UI Core MVC library. See the namespace here. XML namespace MVC referring to MVC is referring to SAP UI Core MVC library. So this is the namespace, and the namespace is always put at the prefix, and then column is put, and then the control name. So there is a library called SAP UI Core MVC. Inside that library, there is a control called view control. Okay, there is a control called view control. That's the reason, that's the exact reason why we have put MVC before this, because this control, view control itself, view is itself a control, guys. It's part of sap.ui.core.mvc library. Okay, so system needs the library name before we go ahead to do anything. Okay, system needs it. Okay, then you will also see the next, which is a default namespace. There is no colon, there is no name given, which means for this view sap.m library, okay, is the default namespace. Sap.m library is the default namespace for this particular view. Now I will change this right now, default namespace, to SAP UI Commons. So let me just do that. I'm still didn't reach to SAP M library for you guys. We will talk about it in some time, but right now we are focusing on commons only. So I just change it back to SAP UI Commons. That's my default namespace. Then you see controller name, it is returning. So in JavaScript view, we used to have get controller name as a method. Now remember, XML a programming language? Anybody? Is XML is a programming language? No. So you cannot have methods here. You will have declaration saying that this is my equivalent controller name. Now what is the correct path? Anubhav is the root folder dot controller dot main is what I want to refer. So I have to change this dot controller dot refer to main existing controller I am referring. So this is what I was telling you few seconds back, where I told you that multiple views can point to same controller. Don't you see now, my main view and my XML view both are pointing to same controller main? Do you see that? Do you understand this concept of how can we point multiple views to same controller? Clear everyone? It's an interesting interview question. Now moving next, you will see something called app something. I delete all that nonsense. All that is flushed out. Clear. So that's my pure XML view. Now you'll see also it has an HTML namespace that's mainly for embedding an HTML inside XML. We are not much worried about this part. Let it be as it is. Now inside this view, you can start putting your content. Okay. So for that, again, refer the UI5 SDK. go to API reference, check for the view class, what is the view class offers you. So if I come to the view class, and let me just come down, and you can see here is the view class. So in this view class, now I'll see first of all it belongs to which library. Okay, so can anybody guess which library the view class belongs to? Anyone? You see SAP UI Core MVC, and you see here SAP UI Core MVC. System is exactly putting same library name, and that's the namespace it has used, saying that, referring that it belongs to this library. If you just do this, what will happen? If you remove this, what will happen? Anyone? Where, in which library system will try to look for this view object? In which library system will try to look for this view object? Anyone? In which library? It will look into SAP UI Commons, because this is the default namespace, and system then will give you an error. Okay, it will give you an error. So we'll see that also, making a mistake intentionally, and see what will happen. Now, another interesting point, I want to now display this view to the user, but first of all let's put one simple label inside. So you can come to the view. Okay, in the view now you can look at the aggregations. There is a content aggregation, so I will just come here and put content. Inside this content, now I will put some control. So I want to put a label control, and I say label, and I will then can give properties which you're giving in JavaScript view. I can give it inside the bracket, and I can say text for the label is, this is my XML view hyphen Anubhav. Save this. We are good. Let's now put this view into the body of HTML. So come back to index HTML, where you were earlier creating the object of your JavaScript view. Now you also create object of your view. Say var o XML view new sap.ui.view. I'm creating a view object, ID of the view, and I say ID view XML. I want to give just an ID. Then I will give the view name, my path of the view. That's my path of the view, guys. Hope you can make out. Any doubt, please ask me. You can see this is the path of the view. It's exactly coming from the namespace. So first you start with the root folder Anubhav, which is the namespace. Then comes to the view folder, which is this one, and then comes to the view name, which is this one. So this is the complete path of my view. That's how we built it. Those who are joining today's class for first time, I would strongly recommend you to watch previous classes, because there are these things which I already covered in the previous classes, line by line. Then comes is the type XML, and now you see this view object is created. Let me place this view into the DOM. So I will just come down and create a div element for with ID called ID Anubhav, and let me just move in my view XML view, place at. So I'm displaying both the views together. This was also one of the question in previous class by someone. Can we display multiple views? Can we display multiple views in a single page? Yes, you can. That's what exactly I am doing here. Okay, I put my JS view also, I put my XML view also together. Let's run this, and what you see, an amazing thing, you will see both the JavaScript view and XML view will be placed inside a single output. Let's execute it. And oops, I did a mistake. There is something wrong. What is that I did wrong? So XML view dot place at, and then I'm saying ID Anubhav, and here is the ID of my div element. Where I have done wrong, why it is not displaying my XML view? Anybody, any guess why it's not displaying my XML view? What do you think? So who is your best friend when you are not able to find the output? Who is your best friend? Anyone? Console is your best friend. Press F12, go to console and see what's there. Something wrong. I don't see anything wrong here. So this is a known issue. This is a known thing. I don't think anything is wrong here. Okay, so right now I don't see anything wrong, any issue or bump. I don't see. Then next is I will check the DOM. So I go to elements and see the DOM. So you can see already I've got an ID Anubhav here, a div element. If I expand it, you can see your XML view is already coming. See, your XML view is already present. It's coming. But inside the XML view, there's supposed to be a label. That label is kind of not coming, correct? So it has created the object of XML view for you. It has placed the object of XML view for you, but the label is missing. The label which you had put inside XML view is not coming. So this gentleman here is not coming. There is some reason. There could be that this is not a valid control, okay? But I think it's a valid control part of SAP UI Commons library. Why? What mistake am I doing? Let me just try putting a text field. Okay, let me save this, come back and refresh, see at least text field comes up. No, that also not coming. So you see guys, when I'm using XML view, nothing is coming. Okay, nothing is coming. Why? What is the reason? So this is SAP UI Commons. This is all okay. MVC is okay. Content is okay. Why it's not coming? What is the reason? Am I doing something wrong? This is a default namespace. So you see XML NS SAP UI Commons I had put, which is the default namespace, and ideally it should come. Okay, ideally it should come. So there is some problem. We are missing something. Let me be very sure. What is that problem which we are getting into? So we had put a text property also. Not sure. Let me just check if I can.
Anubhav,
Yes, please.
uh, we have used content as the tag here, so shouldn't we using my Anubhav that you declared in the JS within which the ID Anubhav, I mean, within which we are
No, I've created another div
placing.
tag to hold the second view. So I have two views now. So see, my JavaScript view is going to first in the content section. Okay. And my XML view, I want to put it here. So if I put same here content, what will happen? If I put this as content, what will happen? It will overwrite my JavaScript view. Clear? Not clear? See, first I look at the statement. First I put my JavaScript view inside the content area of the body of HTML. Done. It got displayed, let's say. Next statement, if I again say content here, what system will do? It will overwrite my JavaScript view placed in the content with the XML view, which I don't want. I want both to be displayed together on the UI. That's my purpose. I want both of them to be displayed. And that's what actually happening in the DOM. When you look at the DOM, it's actually placing it. In the DOM, it's placing my view also. But it's actually kind of giving me some error here. You see SAP UI Commons content. I got it. I got it. I think I don't need to additionally put this guy content here because that's a default aggregation for my XML view. Okay, let me save this and let me come back, refresh. Voila. Thank you. You see, it's working. So what is happening now? It's coming. So content, I had put an extra extra element which was content aggregation, which was not necessary in this case, in this example. Hence it was not working, and now you see it's working fine. It's bringing my label, it's bringing my input field. This is XML view wala part. You see XML view is being displayed. A very basic example with XML view. Going forward you got to build complex things. Let me show you one example. This is the kind of things you will build end to end in our course. So you will learn building this. Okay, let me just. Oops, I don't remember password. I remember. Hopefully it should pull the data. No, it's not. There is some problem. Okay, maybe I'll just run it with the mock server. So going forward, this is the kind of screens you should learn building. And that's what my promise to you. You will learn it. But follow my sessions regularly. Okay. Follow my sessions regularly. So currently it's not loading. There is some issue with OData server. That's why it's not working. Let me run it with mock data. Hopefully at least this one should work with the mock data. Yes, it should mock the data, and you can see it's running here. This is the kind of screen I want you all to build. Okay, you will learn that, don't worry. Okay, so that's my basics of an XML view. So in this you understood the concept of namespace, very important concept. Only this concept is important here, there is nothing else. It's just that then further putting controls, their properties, aggregation, stuff like that. Okay, now maybe I want to put both of these things inside a panel, so I cut it and I put a panel control. Okay, and inside the panel I'll put it. So this is how you can also do aggregation. So panel is a control which has an aggregation inside which there are two controls I have added. This is how you do aggregation in XML view. Very easy, parent child relationship. If I come back here, refresh, you see a nice panel comes up, you see, and the whole of the content is placed inside the panel. Clear everyone? How you do aggregation inside XML view? You will see more examples, complex example of XML view in upcoming days. Just stick to this one and understand how currently I've done aggregation. So panel is a control which has aggregation in which I had put two more controls. Clear? So that's your code. Now, one more question which is clicking in my mind continuously is, why did the content didn't work, right? So I showed you that there is an aggregation called content. Okay, there is an aggregation called content which is part of the view object. Okay, which is part of the view. If you see, come back here, this content is belongs to which object? It's part of which object? It's an aggregation of which object? Anybody? It's an aggregation of which object? Anyone? It's an aggregation of which object? Which object it is aggregation? It's object of view. Okay, now you see it's part of view, so that's okay, I put it inside the view. But you see, what is the namespace to which view belongs? Anyone? What is the namespace to which view belongs? It's MVC namespace. And before content I didn't put MVC namespace, that's why earlier it was not working. Now I put MVC namespace before this, save it, and you will also see this will be working. Okay, so this was the mistake I did earlier, it was not working, and now oops, again I see some issue. Let me just check. SAP UI, it's now trying to find this content inside MVC namespace. It's unable to find. I don't think so. There is, maybe I think it's inside core. Let me just be very sure, guys. Not sure. Could that be the reason why it's not working? No. Ideally, it should have worked based on MVC namespace, because the view is also part of MVC namespace. Its aggregation must also be part of MVC namespace. Clear? Its aggregation must also be part of MVC namespace. That's what exactly I was expecting. Let me just go and check. So you can see it's part of UI core control. I'm not sure. C capital? No, C capital not required. You see, it's C small. Aggregation C is small here. Doesn't matter. So I think it's not working probably in this case. Maybe once we switch to SAP mobile based application development, you would see this would be working as expected. But right now I'm not able to show you this. But ideally, this is how it should work. Okay, because the view belongs to this namespace, its aggregation should also belongs to same namespace. Clear? So that is what was probably the reason, but I am not able to show you the output here, but that's okay. You understood the concept of an XML view. This is a very basic example of an XML view. Now we will switch and talk about the another two types of view which are not much used. So just look at it, finish it, that's it. Don't spend much of it in this topic. So the other two views are JSON view and HTML view. So let's create our first HTML view. So right click, same technique, new view, and choose the view type as HTML view, and I just give a name, my HTML view, and say oops, namespace is again Anubhav, and I say my HTML view, and I say next, finish, and you would see a new view got created and a new controller got created. I do repeat the same exercise. I delete the controller and I will reuse the same controller. I will cut and paste my view also in the view folder, delete this extra view folder, and go to my HTML view. You can see this is my HTML view. It has created kind of a nice little template for me for this HTML view, and you can see it's again starting with something called an app. and inside an app it has a page, which is an aggregation, and inside the page it has a content. Okay, that's what exactly the structure of my view is. I don't want to go ahead with it. I want to simply put a label and a text field, so I will go with the div tag. So remember guys, in HTML view everything is a div tag, and you always put data hyphen sap hyphen ui hyphen type. This is for the library and the control which you want to use. So I want to use sap ui commons dot, let's say, text field. That's what I want, and I want to default some value inside it. So data hyphen sap hyphen ui hyphen value. I want to put a default value, say Anubhav, and that's my input field I've created. Next I will create div tag data hyphen sap hyphen ui hyphen type equals to sap dot ui dot commons dot button. So you see how difficult it is to use HTML views. You have to always put this big thing always. Yeah, so it's not a recommended one. So data hyphen sap ui, and then I will put text property for the view, and I say click me, and then I will just also put data sap ui press is a property, and I say on press. Okay, that's my button control. So I remove the below part, that's not necessary for me, and you can see this is my HTML view. Very simple HTML view with two things inside. One is a text field, one is a button. Now I want to also write the code for this button on press. I can simply do it in my main controller, because main controller is what it is pointing to. I can just come here, function, okay, this, and then I say alert, same controller is used for all the views. That's a message I want to give. Now important is you have to also change your controller name. So you see here it is still pointing to the deleted controller. You have to now change it to the correct controller path, controller dot main I am pointing to. This is one important step when you're using same controller. Good. And now let's instantiate this HTML view also, and place this HTML view also into the body of HTML. So OHTML view and id HTML view, and then I say my HTML view, and then I say HTML as the view type. And then what I'll also do is I'll just put this dot place at id HTML, and then I just go ahead and create another div tag. So I'm placing all the views in a single screen guys within multiple div elements. Okay, so that's my id HTML, and save it. Now let me also show you something. Okay, save it and run this first and show you something else. Refresh. Oops, now you see there is an error coming guys. So you can see SAP UI commons text field.js, some error is coming here. So you see resources, uh, text field is not found. Okay, SAP UI commons text field is not found. It's commons, S is there, I did a mistake. It's not common, it is commons. Okay, you see here I did a small character mistake. S was missing, and that's why it was unable to find the library. Save it, come back, refresh, and you can see your uh, label, sorry, your input field and button. But oops, their label and default value not appearing. So the problem is data hyphen sap hyphen ui not required. Data sap text, data sap value. This is what is only required. Save it, refresh. Ups, not working. So I don't know what to do. What shall I do now guys? If I don't know what to write, if I don't know, I'm stuck somewhere, what is my first help get from? Yes, go to SDK and check an example for an HTML view. How is that being created? So I come here to an HTML view example, and let's see if there is some example which is available here in the samples. Maybe I go to samples and search for HTML view. Oops, I don't find one. So maybe I just check it here itself. HTML view extended, get meta, a lot of things here. So I go to constructor, events. I don't see an example of an HTML view. Let me just check. No, I don't find it. No, I don't find it. So maybe I just quickly search on Google HTML view in SAP UI5. Since it's not used much in industry, you won't find much of resources also available in the system for that. Okay, but still you should be able to find some or the other thing. I think we just have to use data hyphen only, no SAP. So data hyphen press and data hyphen value, data hyphen text. I think this is what we have to put. Save it. Let me give a last try. Otherwise I have to refer some material. Yes, it works. You see, for any property you have to just precede it with data hyphen and the property name of the control, and that's how you can see its value is coming. And if I click, you see same controller is used for all views. That's my alert message which is being called. Clear everyone? How to create a very simple, it's a very simple example of creating an HTML view. Now going to the last one, which is JSON view. What is JSON view? So I want to just again go ahead, right click. The format will be the JSON. So you only see based on the technique which we use, that type of code is getting generated. So now I probably right click on the main folders in new SAP UI5 view, and I choose here the JSON view, and I say my JSON view, and I say oops, that's my namespace Anubhav, and JSON view. Click on next, finish, and you will see a new view. JSON view would have got created here. Its controller got created, and I don't want to use this controller, delete it. I want to use same controller. I come here and then just assign the controller name to main. And you see this is more like a JSON format. Anyone, how do you validate the JSON? If you have a JSON in your company and you want to validate if it's a valid JSON or not, what do you use? I taught you the JSON. Yes. So Gautam has given me the answer. Maybe I didn't taught you this, how to validate if you have a JSON. So you can go to a website called jsonlint.com. Using jsonlint.com, you can validate your JSON, guys. Okay. So maybe I just want to create a very simple JSON. So first put curly braces to define an object. And then I say my name, Anubhav, and then say car name. I hold an Audi S30. Then I have maybe car name 2. I also have an i20, and then I say uh, house, and I say maybe villa sector 66, city Chandigarh. Yeah, so this is a simple JSON I've created, and now you can validate this JSON, guys. So I say validate. You see it's a valid JSON. Now let me do a mistake. I remove this extra comma from here and I say validate. You see I get an error. Clear? This is how you validate JSON. You can also validate complex JSONs. So let me just create now here a property, and in this property I will put the list of bungalows. Okay, and maybe I just put here an array, and here I can put list of bungalows which I hold, and then I can just put multiple bungalows inside, and I would say name of bungalow, and then I say the city in which this bungalow is existing. So I say Pink Pearl, it is there in Jaipur, and then I have one in there you go, Diamond Palace, city is Surat, and then there's one more I hold in, and then I'll say Park View, and then city is Gurgaon. Okay, now I just do a validate and you see it's a valid JSON. Clear guys? How you validate a JSON, how you create a JSON, how you validate a JSON. Let me do a mistake here. I remove a comma, or probably I remove a curly braces from here. You validate the JSON, it gives you an error exactly. Okay, this is how you prepare your JSON. This is how you check your JSONs. Clear everyone? This is how exactly you work with JSON. And you see extra comma, I remove this, validate, it's a valid JSON. Same way you can have JSON here, copy this JSON, come in here, paste it, validate, you see it's a valid JSON. If you're doing a mistake in JSON view or any JSON which you create, it will not work. Clear? So now what is it doing here in this JSON? It's creating a view of type JSON view. And then you can see controller name is pointing to main controller again, and then it has a content. Inside the content it puts something, and then an aggregation of this. I don't want all this to be used, so I will create my own content. So I want probably to put a button first of all. So I will put first my button, and then later on I will put an image control. So let me put a button here. So I will come here and put the type of control. Okay, and then I say SAP UI Commons dot button control I want, and then I can use its properties of the button control. So I can say it's text property of my button control. It should be click me, and then I should have a press action, and then I want to go to my controller, which it will automatically go to, and I just have to put my action name which I have in my controller. So what's my action name in the controller? Maybe it is on press. That's what I want to point to, on press action. Okay, that's it. My first control is ready. Next I want an image control, so I say type, and then I say sap.ui.commons.image control, and then I will say it's src, source of the image, and source of image I want to get it from my computer, my project itself. So I will have an images folder in my project, and I will say hdct.jpg. This image is right now not uploaded, and this below part I don't need it. So let me see till where I should remove it. So this guy goes, this goes away, and now let's validate. It's a valid JSON. I can now cut and paste this code from JSON lint to my JSON view. Clear guys? This is how you create it. And now time for getting this image folder with an image into the project. So right click, new folder. I say image folder. Okay, sorry, it should be images. So rename and just upload an image from my computer. So form file system, browse, and I go to my D drive SAP UI5 folder, and I have images, and there is an image called hdct.jpg. I put it, I copy it, it's getting loaded, done, import is finished. And now let's instantiate the JSON view. Let's instantiate the JSON view and place it into the body of HTML. So var, same code. So that's the reason I am doing copy paste, because I want to speed up my development. JSON view, and now you just change the view name here. The view name is, or ID is ID, let's say JSON, and the view name is my JSON view, correct? And type is JSON. Save this, we are good. And now let's place this into the body of HTML. So place at, now those who were having some confusion earlier, why didn't you put your XML view in the content? Let me do that. I will now put my JSON view in the container in the ID HTML. What will happen? Anyone? What will happen when I do this? What do you think what will happen when I do this? Anybody? What will happen when I do this? It will overwrite my HTML view. I first put my HTML view in this container, in this div element, and then on top of it, I now place my JSON view. It will overwrite my HTML content, only HTML content. Okay, so let's go and test it. So earlier you had this Anubhav and this button. This will get overwritten by HTML content with the button and a picture. You see, actually it is appended, guys. You see, it has appended, it didn't overwrite, it has appended. So there is an HTML also, and below that is that it has appended this click me button, which is again calling the same action of same controller. And then you have got a picture here. Okay, this picture is also getting displayed. So it's not like you cannot create a picture using JavaScript view or XML view. You can do the same thing, but just to give a different flavor, I showed you creating picture using JSON view. So you can also create such pictures on your screen, on your views, using JavaScript view, also using XML view also. Whatever whichever view you use, it is possible. Just to demonstrate different flavor, I just created a picture here. Clear everyone? How we create a view? Can we exchange data between different views? Yes. So data concept overall in MVC architecture, what is represented? What is the representation of data? Anyone? What is representation of data in MVC architecture? MVC, model view controller, guys. What is MVC? Some people are answering incorrect, completely digression from the topic. MVC, whenever I say MVC, immediately MVC should come in your picture. Model view controller. What is the data representation of in MVC architecture? Who represents the data in MVC architecture? Who represents in this picture? It's the model. See here, this is what is the data. So we didn't reach to the model chapter yet. The moment you learn model, you will understand how can we exchange the data. We didn't even talk about data yet. How can I show you exchanging the data? Correct. Another interesting point is when it comes to exchanging, let's say, variable data, it is possible because you are using same controller. All three views are using same controller, guys. That's why exchange is natural. Okay, it's natural because you're using all three of them pointing to same controller. So if I put a variable here, that same variable will be used by all the views. Clear? Clear everyone? It will be used by all the views. So let me just show you one example. Now in this, I will show you how to create a global variables. Okay, how to create global variables in controller. So what you need to do to create global variables in controller, all the global variables. So there are two ways. One is using scaffolding. Okay, so watch here carefully. When I come to my controller, I had put my dependency here, right? Now this controller is what? It's actually pointing to an object of this class or this dependency, and it's global. Global means within this controller, every method can use it. Clear everyone? Every method of my controller can use this controller. Okay, clear everyone? This is one way to create global variable, but it's actually used only for dependency purpose. You should not use it for real purpose of creating a variable, global variable of type string or date or whatever. Okay, never use it. So this is only used for dependency purpose. Clear guys? Only used for dependency purpose, nothing else. The second one, which is most favorable way, where you declare, or actually there are three techniques: declare, on, or at controller level. And third is declare inside the on init method. These are all the three techniques to create global variables. Let me just write a variable here. I want to create a variable, let's say username, current user. Okay, current username I want to create, and I want to hard code this variable to Anubhav. Watch carefully guys, the syntax for creating variable, you will 100% do mistakes if you don't follow this. Many people write instead of colon they will put equals to. It will not work. Many people will write curly braces after this. It will not work. Many people will forget to write comma after this. It will not work. I get 80% of your doubts of this kind, where you did case sensitive mistake, you did spelling mistakes, and then you're saying, Anubhav, I wasted 4 hours, 6 hours, it's not working. Come on, get me quality doubts. These doubts which you are getting, you can solve it by downloading my source code from the our course material, right? I always share my source code with you. So you can download source code directly from the course material and compare side by side your code with my code and see what mistake you have done. That's the best way of learning. Why you are wasting 4 hours on that? Spend 10-20 minutes. If not able to match it, download my source code, compare it. What mistake have you done? You will know. Get me quality doubts. Use Anubhav's time for quality doubts, not for such trivial doubts where you're doing case sensitive mistakes or comma mistake or these things. You are not using Anubhav properly then. Use Anubhav for quality doubts, not for this kind of things. Get me technical doubts, functional doubts, those kinds of doubts, not like these silly doubts, not like examples which I already demonstrated to you in the class. You can anyways download the source code and check it. The other day I have showed you the Raji's code. You can download the source code. It's already there in the blog. You can download Raji's code and compare it where you have done mistake. You will know the answer. That way you will learn. Now, for these small things, if you keep coming to Anubhav, I will not be able to deliver more to you. I will be busy with solving your trivial doubts. I'm not saying don't come to you. You can come to me for silly doubts also. It's my duty to answer. But imagine, use my time properly. Use it for some real expertise purpose, so that you can get some value out, extra value out of it, out of your training, rather than focusing on silly doubts. Okay, so you can compare this code with your code, download the source code, compare it, and then you will know. Okay, so current user is the variable name. You can put anything here, whatever you like. I can put Mario. This is my variable name, and the value of the variable is Anubhav. Now in JavaScript, as you all know, you don't have to specify type. Automatically, since it's a string, it will take it as a string type. Now this variable is accessible in all the methods. Clear? So let me show you first on press. I want to now print it. So anybody in ABAP, if you have a variable at the class level and you want to refer to that variable within the class method, which keyword do you use? Anyone? If there is a class, and in this class there are variables which are declared at the class level. Okay, let's say this is the class and there is a variable called x and y, and if there is a method of the class, I want to refer this variable x into my method in ABAP. I'm not asking anything else. What do you use? Which keyword do you use? You use me.x, correct? You use me.y, correct? Thank you for the answer. Right answer, me. If it is there in the base class, which keyword do you use? Anyone? If it is there a variable in the base class of current class, what do you use? You can also use me, because it got inherited, correct? It is already inherited, so you can use me also. You can also use super. That's what you can use in ABAP. Now in JavaScript, if you want to do this, there is a special keyword called this keyword. This represents, this means this small, okay, represents object of current module. So you are inside the controller, so here this will represent object of current module, current class. So what do you use here to refer to your Mario variable? Anybody? What do you use here on press to refer to your Mario variable, which is a global variable? Who will tell me? This dot Mario. Perfect answer. How simple it is. Very good. Just use this dot Mario. Done. That's it, guys. That's it. That's it. Let's go ahead and test it. So when I click now on the buttons, you would see, when I click on my buttons now, you would see that system will simply show me the data. So I click here and you see, can you see this value, Anubhav? Where it is coming from? Anyone? Where is this value coming from? Anybody? Where it is coming from? Anyone? Where it is coming from? It's coming from variable Mario. It's coming from my variable Mario. Clear, everyone? It's coming from my variable Mario. I have hard coded though, but yes, it's coming from my variable, global variable Mario. Let me create another variable. Okay, I will create another variable, guys. So let me create another variable here. I will say this dot, and I will name it as, let's say, Jumba, and I say maybe some value Superman. Okay, that's the value I want to put. Now this is again a global variable creation. Sorry, this should be done. You can do it in any method, but ideally it should be done in the onInit method. Okay, recommendation is you do it in onInit method. So I uncomment onInit method, and I will put my Jumba variable here, and the value of this variable is Superman. Now here you can use equals to symbol with semicolon end, but the one which you define at the controller level, it should be like this, but inside the onInit you can use like this. This is the syntax. So you see the difference. So sometimes what people do, they will take this and they will try to put variable like this. It will not work. This is the syntax at the controller level, and this is the syntax at the method level. These are all small funda foxes which you forget and then you lose the game. These are very small funda foxes. Okay, these are all funda fox. Okay, now that's my variable created. Now let me just print Zumba on click of the button. So maybe I'll just go to my JavaScript method, show me magic, and show me magic. After the magic is over, I say alert Zumba. Save this. Let's come back, refresh the page, and watch carefully, guys. Watch carefully. Now let me click on show me magic. Okay, let me click on that, and you see, can you see, guys, what is happening? Why it is giving me undefined, guys? Anyone? Why it is giving me undefined for my Jumba variable? Can you guess? In JavaScript views method, you can see this dot Zumba. It's giving me value undefined. Why var? Already you have a global variable, na? You already have a global variable here, which you had defined in onInit. This dot Zumba. Now let me use same Zumba for this method. There is another method on press. Let me use Zumba here. Okay, let me use Zumba here. Save it, come back, refresh, watch carefully. I click on click me button. You see, it gives me Superman. Clear? It gives me Superman. But when I click on show me magic, it gives me undefined. Why? It's a global variable, right? Zumba is a global variable. It's working inside one method but not working inside another method. Why? No, both I am calling after loading view only. So there's somebody saying it's gone. No, it is never gone. No, it's not never gone. Scope is never gone. I refresh. onInit was called everything loaded. Perfect. Everything loaded now. Are you happy? Everything is loaded. onInit is already done. Now when I click on this show me magic, you see undefined. But when I click on click me, you see Superman. Why? It is working here, but not working with show me magic. Why? This is a very interesting point, very interesting and very important point. The yes, so Gautam has given an answer. I think he has some experience. So what happens is, guys, when you use JavaScript view, 100% FundaFox, 100% pure FundaFox it is. When you use JavaScript view, let me note down. When we use JavaScript views and try to access the global variables or methods inside the controller method using this pointer, it doesn't work directly because the scope of this will point to event handler, not to controller. Okay, now let me explain this sentence. Now what is this pointing to? What is that you expect this to point to? What is the object of this point to? Anybody? What do you think? It should, no, it should not point to DOM. It points to controller object. So that inside my controller, whatever global variable methods I have, I can call them. Correct? Only except all three views in out of all four views in JavaScript view. If you have a JavaScript view, see this magic was called by JavaScript view. You come down and you see somewhere we are calling magic using JavaScript. You see, are we not calling JavaScript view? This is JavaScript view, right? So we are calling magic via JavaScript view. Only when you use JavaScript view and call a method using JavaScript view, inside this method the scope of this will point to event handler object. It doesn't point to object of controller. Now what is event handler object? We'll discuss that in detail in upcoming days, but right now just remember, basically it is not pointing to controller object, hence it doesn't know what is this dot zumba. Clear everyone? Hence it doesn't know, since it is not pointing, since this is not pointing to controller object, it's not pointing it, it doesn't know controller's global variable. Clear everyone? Then you will say, Anubhav, how do we access the global variables then? For that, what you need to do, you need to explicitly pass the object of controller to the magic method, to this method, saying that this should point to global controller. It should not point to any event handler. It should point to my controller object, and that's done using view. So come to the view, put an array symbol, comma, o controller, like this. So now here what we are doing exactly, we are explicitly, we have to explicitly pass the object of controller to event handler so that this can point to controller object. Clear everyone? That's what exactly you need to do. So let's go back and do this. So come here. So we have to exactly do this. Okay, you have to exactly do this. That's a very important funda, folks. I will be asking this question to you in interview if you're coming to interview for UI5 and Fiori. This is 100% question I always ask to every student who come for interview. Every single person who come for interview, I ask this question. Clear? Not clear? Partially clear? Please confirm me. I will repeat if you want, but after this there is no repeat of this topic, but very important, I will ask this question in every class. You have to explicitly pass the object of controller to the event handler. Okay, let me repeat. Come back here, go to the controller. What we observe, we observed that this dot zumba, here zumba is a global variable. When I was trying to point to this dot zumba in a method, this method was called by JavaScript view. Okay, on the other hand, there was an on-press method called by XML view, HTML view, or JSON view. Here this dot zumba was pointing, this was pointing to controller object, hence zumba was able, we were able to access the zumba. But the moment you see a method which is called by JavaScript view, this one, this is not pointing to the object of controller. It is pointing to the object of event handler. It by default doesn't point to the object of controller. To make this particular object point to controller, what we need to do additional? We need to pass the controller object to the event handler explicitly like this with this syntax. Then only in the event handler method, this pointer will point to the controller object. Hence, you can access the global variables and methods of controller. Is that clear now? Yes or no? Anyone? Is that clear now or not? So I already showed you that it was not working. Now, if I go back, refresh, and let me call show me magic. You will see now the value Superman is being printed, because now it has got the scope. It has got the scope of this pointer. It knows this should point to controller object, not to the event handler object, or not to something else which you don't know. Okay, you have to explicitly pass the controller object to the JavaScript method. In XML view, JSON view and HTML view, it will behave automatically. It means this will point to controller object always. You don't have to explicitly pass the controller object. That's one advantage of XML view. That is one more advantage of XML view. You don't have to explicitly pass the controller object the way you have to do it with JavaScript view. Okay, guys, the way you have to do it with JavaScript view, you don't have to do it with XML views. With XML, JSON and HTML views, it will automatically work. This will always point to the controller object in the event handler methods. Okay. Wow. What an example. Very important topic, guys. Very important topic. Now, last point. You can come here and you can see that I am calling hard-coded value of view names. Now, tomorrow SAP UI5 framework change these view constants. They will replace JS with, let's say, JJ. Okay, then I have to come and change all my views, all my code where I've used JS. Correct. If UI5 changes this constant value, type should be now for JavaScript view, it should be JJ. They won't change it, but let's say they will in case. Then what will happen? I have to adapt all my code. So for that, what we do is we refer to standard constants in UI5. We say sap.ui.core.mvc.viewtype.js. This is also a constant now I am referring to, okay, where I'll say refer to this constant rather than hard-coded value for JavaScript view type. So let's come back, refresh. It should work fine. Yes, it is working. For user, no difference. For us, it makes a big difference as a programmer. This is a good programming practice where instead of putting, yes, it's like a class attribute, class constant actually. So instead of putting the hard-coded value, put the class constant. So you would see many places SAP UI5 coding, we use these kind of constants like list type, list name. Now those who did not understand, let me repeat for them what is this whole thing means. So if I just quickly refer to, let's say, a library. So let's say this is a library. Okay, this is a library. Inside the library you have lots of classes, and let's say this is a class inside a library. Okay, you have this as a class inside a library. Now inside the class you have a structure. Okay, inside the class you have a structure. Okay, this is a structure, and this structure has properties. Okay, now what I want is, let's say this structure has properties. So now this top thing is your library. This library is SAP UI core. Then you have a class inside this library. This class name is MVC, and then inside this class you have a structured attribute called view type, and inside this you have values like JavaScript, XML, JSON and HTML. These four constant values are there in this attribute. So if I want to refer to JavaScript, if I want to reach to this JS, how I need to follow? I will first put library dot class dot constant name, or structure name dot constant name, right? Can anybody now tell me the path which I will build using this syntax to an XML type of view? How do I refer an XML view now using this syntax? To reach to the XML by following this path, how can I reach? Anybody? How can I reach to XML? What should be your answer? Anyone? If you answer me, then you understood the concept of the constant. So there are a lot of ready-made constants in this. Perfect answer. Swami has got it right. So sap.ui. Remember, Swami has also done a mistake. I will tell you what mistake he has done. Swami, can you tell me what mistake you've done? Anyone? What mistake Swami has done? Or what do you think? What mistake he has done? He has put me view type incorrectly. View type, it's case sensitive, guys. View type like this and XML. That's the right answer. Everything is case sensitive. View type V is capital, T is capital, small v will not work out for you. Clear everyone? How to build the path for a particular constant available in UI5. So tomorrow SAP framework says JavaScript view should be referring to JJ. They will change this constant here inside the framework. We are always referring to the constant. We are not referring to the value of constant. Hence we will be automatically adapted. Clear everyone? That's how you use constants in UI5. We'll see some more examples in upcoming days. So what did we learn today? We learned view types. We learned what is the way to create global variables, how to access global variables, and challenge in JavaScript view to access global variables. You have to explicitly pass the controller object. And then we saw what is the constant. How do you create constants in, how do you refer constants which are offered by SAP UI5 using library notation. So with that, any questions before we close? Anybody? Any questions before we close today's class? Let's give an exercise. Let me give an exercise to all of you. What you need to do, an exercise. Okay. Design an XML view with username and password field and login button. Okay. When user click on login, logon button, validate username and password with your name. Okay. And display another view at bottom at runtime. You have to display another view on the same screen at runtime showing a picture of smiley. Okay. So if this example exercise you are able to do, you understood all concepts by now. Okay, so design two XML views. First XML view, username, password, logon button. When you click on logon button and validation is done successfully, you have to display another view, XML view, which displays a picture at the bottom of the current view. Okay, it should display a picture at the bottom of current view with a smiley symbol. Just download a smiley picture from Google. Don't come and ask me, Anubhav, give me smiley picture. This is what you can use. You are all are engineers. I can expect at least this much from you. You can download any smiley pictures from here and put it in your project and display that in the view. Don't come to me and ask, give me smiley picture. That will be the worst thing you will be doing. I will get angry on that. Okay. So don't do that. Use your common sense. You are free to do whatever. Don't think too much. Don't try to do over engineering. Don't think too much. Get started with it. Let's see, at least you are able to achieve username password screen. I'm happy with that. Okay, step by step you try to develop. Don't overthink. That's our biggest problem. We overthink a lot. Before starting development, we start thinking, and then we are never able to complete. Start, get your hands dirty into code, get started with it. Let the problems come. I am there to solve your problems. Let the problems come. I am waiting for your problems, because this is training. Training, as many problems, as many mistakes you want, you can do it after you get into live production. No chances of mistake. That's a dead end for you. Okay, you can't do mistakes in production. You can't say, hey user, I did a mistake, sorry, that's my code. No, can't do it. It's training. Here you can do 100,000 mistakes. So खून माफ, so खून माफ यहाँ पे. Once you go in live, dead. Game is over there. Okay, be very careful. Complete this exercise, get me the output. Let's see who can complete this by tomorrow. I will only review your changes if you send it by today evening India time. I will not accept any solution by tomorrow morning. Then I don't have a time to review. Okay, so send me by today evening India time. You have time, 12 hours of time from today. Clock starts now. In next 12 hours you have to complete this, get me the solution. Best solution will be presented in front of all of you and will also be uploaded in the training blog. So I expect, Raji, you are the biggest competition for everyone. Let's see who can do it best this time. Last time Raji was the champion. of my previous exercise. Let's see who can complete this time and get me the solution. You have to only use XML views, no JavaScript view, only XML views. The way I showed you, SAP UI common library you have to use. Don't use any other library. Don't use any other things. Whatever I taught, it should be with that only. It should relate to whatever concepts I taught. Don't use extra concepts. Don't use code from internet. That will paralyze your mind. Any code used from internet will paralyze your mind. It will not give you help. People are very smart. They go to internet, they search some code, they copy paste, they will get the output. That's not I want. I want your learning to be coming on surface. I want you to face the heat of what you've learned, utilize that, and then build this exercise. 12 hours time starts now. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day and goodbye.